Hello. Today I'm speaking with Lynn Rosenberger, who has been making bold moves in connecting the art world with the new frontier that is Web3. Lynn co founded the NFT Gallery in London and just opened a second one in the heart of New York City. I hope you'll enjoy this interview. All right, Lynn, tell me a bit about yourself, your background, and your current role at the NFT Gallery.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. So my background lays in fashion actually. So I don't have a in-depth like art background, so to say. I was always very interested in it because I have a lot of friends collecting art and their families, and I would always visit museums and everything. However, the traditional art world never really caught my interest as intensely as like this revolutionizing Web3 art world now did. Um, I mean, a lot of factors played into it, but I studied fashion business and then worked for several different fashion companies in different segments from PR to marketing to sales, client relations. So it was very broad overall. And basically, what brought me into the Web3 space was one of my co founders who has been collecting and trading with crypto for now it's probably been like 6 years.
Mm.
Um, and he would always constantly talk to me about it and tell me that I should get into it. But I'm not a finance person, so dealing with cryptocurrency, yeah, it was just like not my thing. And then, of course, when NFT started coming up, especially attributed within art, I was like, wait, hold on. Like, that seems very interesting. Like, can you tell me more about it? How does it work? And what caught my interest is that finally artists have a platform where they can sell and trade with their art without having to go through in like an art gallery or an art dealer. So they could basically be fully independent. And then also the royalties caught my interest, which which just caught my interest as a whole. And then I decided to get into it.
That's very interesting. And it's interesting because with your educational background in fashion business and fashion being a very tangible art form, if you want, now this move into the a very digital realm, like where did you encounter challenges that were very unique to this specific type of art form?
I mean, the thing is for me, I mean, I like fashion as a whole. However, I think also there we really need to differentiate between like fashion that people wear and then haute couture. And I was more like into the haute couture fashion because that for me is just a form of art in itself. I mean, yeah, a very limited amount of people actually wear that. Let's be honest. Usually the models on the runway, but this is for me just like a different form of art. And to answer your question, I think the main challenge is to convince people that collecting digitally is still a form of collecting art, if that makes sense, that it doesn't necessarily have to be tangible. I mean, a lot of fashion companies are now stepping into the Web3 space as well, which I think is very interesting, especially if you look at the gaming industry. Gaming used to be like you create an account and you buy your goods on there, but then you would have to sell your account as a whole if you wanted to make money off your purchases. Now people can actually sell, I don't know, the hat or the gun or whatever they purchased just as an individual digital asset and not the whole account. And I think young people are very much used to collecting digital assets, especially through gaming. But of course, older generations are a bit more hesitant because they don't see the value behind it. I mean, I've tried to explain it so often to my mom, like why you should collect digital art and the beauty of being so flexible and exhibiting in your home. Like, you don't ever get bored of an artwork because you can constantly change it. And she does see the value behind it because she also says like, I love collecting art, but whenever I get bored or I want to buy a new artwork, I need to technically get rid of an old artwork. I mean, not get rid, but like store it somewhere, which is just like an extra, um how do you say that, yeah, just like an extra move that you need to take in order to purchase your new artwork. And she really likes the factor that you can just flip in between artworks and just have it up according to your mood, so to say. But I think this is definitely one of the biggest challenges is, yeah, converting traditional art collectors into digital art collectors.
I believe that, yeah. And I believe you are the artist manager as well, right, for the NFT gallery. So how do you find and select artists for your exhibitions?
There are different approaches that we take. So either we basically set the topic for the exhibition. Currently, we have an exhibition running called Nature in the Digital Age. And then I source artists accordingly to their skill sets. I try to curate exhibitions that are as versatile as possible and not work with artists that have similar skill sets, if that makes sense. And then we like to combine emerging as well as established artists or more established artists together, so that it's so that basically both parties can profit of each other, and so that it's kind of like a win-win for everyone involved in the collaboration. And then there's the other, yeah, basically the other routes that we take is where I basically say, I saw this artist and I absolutely love their artworks. And now I want to curate an exhibition around this artist. So either I will then turn it into a solo exhibition if I believe it can be a strong enough curation, or I try sourcing artists around that specific artist that I fell in love with. But I have to say, probably setting a theme and then curating around that is more common.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And a year ago, you opened the NFT gallery in London and
Mhm.
followed that up with the one in New York City. What was the driving philosophy behind opening the space and behind, yeah, the exhibitions you create and just the whole idea behind it?
Mhm. For us, it was really to give digital native artists a space where they can be seen and curated as well, and to follow a traditional art gallery model. Of course, we have different values that, I mean, I would suggest that we have different values that traditional art galleries do. Because what we have seen is that a lot of people struggle with collecting digital art because they either don't know how to, either don't know where to look for arts that they like. They either feel very hesitant in purchasing digital art because a lot of artworks or collectibles that are on OpenSea, for example, or have been or and still are attributed to scams. So, I mean, of course, media loves bad news. So it has been pushed up like quite intensively. So people have just started to become more hesitant. So it has also become more challenging for digital artists to sell their works. Of course, peer to peer transactions enable sales for everyone. But at the end of the day, being discovered is still probably just as difficult as in the traditional art space, because it's usually the collections that have the highest marketing budgets that sell out. Then it's about the story that they tell, it's about the visibility that they get on the different platforms, how much PR they get, etc. So we really wanted to give digital artists a space where they can be curated, seen, where collectors can come in with confidence and collect an artwork without having to be scared of being scammed, or yeah, investing in an artist that actually is not an artist, or I mean, God knows. But this is really our philosophy. And then on the other hand is we try to support as many female artists as possible, because there are a lot of male collectors out there, and they tend to collect male artists as well. And it has been extremely difficult for female artists already in the traditional space. And now that the space is very new, the Web3 space, we really wanted to say, like, we want to come in as early as possible and try to make a difference where possible. Of course, we don't want to discriminate anyone, but we just try to bring in as many female artists as possible. I mean, of course, sometimes there are exhibitions where we have a bit more female artists, a bit more male artists, but we try to have like an overall balance between everyone. And so far, I think we've done a good job. We always had very balanced exhibitions, and all the artists have always been satisfied. So
That's nice. And it's really interesting because considering that it's a very technology driven space that is still very male dominated
mhm,
itself, where do you see challenges and opportunities for women on either end, on the artist spectrum, as well as like stepping into this space and what you're doing, almost like more of the logistics behind us and providing these kind of opportunities to
mhm.
people?
I think opportunities are very big. There are a lot of fantastic women in the space that are also supporting other women in the space. And I think we just have to stick together. And like for us, it's really like we focus on hiring as many women as possible. And then, of course, if someone else is better, then yeah, then the someone else was just better, but we always focus a lot on hiring as many women as possible. And I feel like if more companies do that as well, there will just be so many job opportunities for other women that have like that are just like-minded. And I think we just have to start now before we drift into the same movement we've had yeah, years ago, where just men took over the world, and then women now basically face the challenges of having to prove themselves. And I think if we just start with women, then and women support women, then I think there are high chances that we can kind of like have like a very nice 50-50 split.
Great. And talking about breaking down barriers, if you and what you said about transporting this very digital art form into like a physical space, do
Mhm.
you think NFTs like inherently challenge the ways we interact with art, or will challenge the way in which we interact with art?
I mean, the thing is, we always say NFTs is basically the underlying technology that just enables digital ownership. We're also currently going through a rebrand because currently we're called the NFT Gallery, which was a good name to start with. However, now we feel like it's time that we just shift to something else, because at the end of the day, we are supporting digital artists and we sell the art as NFTs, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Hence, also why we're probably going to change our name and just rebrand the company as a whole. Is yeah, just to represent better what we are doing, because I think there's no such thing as NFT art. I mean, NFT art is basically either it's a collectible or then it's a digital fine artwork, but the term NFT art is still, I don't know, very vague in my opinion. So basically the way we yeah or the way people will, or how NFTs or in digital art will change the way people interact with art, I think is going to be very big. Because what I love about digital artworks is they can be interactive, they can change, they can be animated, artists have the possibility to add music to them. So it's a lot more open-minded, to how like whoever perceives an artwork. I mean, funnily enough, in our company, we all have very different tastes in artworks. And then someone from our team basically said, like, "Oh, I really like this artwork. Like, Lynn, you should really get it." And I was like, "Yeah, I like the artwork too, but it makes me feel sad. Like, I don't like collecting artworks that make me feel sad. I love art that makes me feel happy and alive, and yeah, and just like wholesome artworks." And she was like, "Wait, what? Like, I absolutely love this artwork. Like, it makes me feel really happy." So I think the way also people are able to interpret artworks is just more open, because motion just awakes different emotions as well. Everyone connects sounds with different emotions, and then also having interactive artworks that adapts to weather or some sort of other data, I think is very exciting. And I think it's also why a lot of young people find the appeal within digital art, because it actually touches all of your emotions and all of your senses, and it's just more stimulating, if that makes sense. I mean, especially the younger generations, they're stimulated through social media and gaming and just general technology on a daily basis, so they also need high inputs when they get home and look at an artwork to feel something, if that makes sense. I'm very much between like Gen Z and millennials, if that makes sense. So sometimes I really understand like where Gen Z is coming from, and then in other times I feel like a total millennial where I'm like, wait, what? um so I feel like I can understand both generations really well. And also for older generations, the appeal is definitely there as well, because this is something that they have never seen, which is why everyone is curious about it also.
Nice. And from what I gather just from listening to you, you're definitely also a very passionate collector
Hmm.
of art or digital art as well. Um, like, how would you say, was it an easy step to take to see, like, oh, this is digital art, I'm going to get into that now? Or did you have some reservations? You mentioned some things in the beginning of the interview, but were there kind of like, inhibitions you had to overcome in order to take that step?
I mean, I definitely had some hesitations at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. Hence, I also understand why a lot of people are being hesitant about it, because at the end of the day, it is something that is not tangible. Um, but once I started collecting and once I saw how exciting it is when you have like this new artwork pop up in your wallet, and then you can just change it on your display at home, and actually appreciate it, I think that made the whole difference. And I think also the digital frames just play an active role within that, because once you see it displayed at home on your quote unquote like digital canvas, we call it, it makes it tangible again. Of course, it is digital, but you still have the frame that you can remove from the wall and take it somewhere, or give a gift to someone, and then you give them the frame. And once they unpack it, they have like an artwork on there. So technically, it is still a digital asset that you're collecting, but I think the frames make yeah, the big difference.
I agree. I really agree. Thank you so much, Lynn.